Well, folks, it's been a long time coming, but I can't hold back anymore. I'm going to review a movie that is so awful, so terrible in scope, that it left a permanent black mark on professional wrestling. I'm talking about none other than The Wrestler. From beginning to end, this festering shit pile of a film is unredeemable. It's tacky, it makes the business look stupid, and it makes those involved in wrestling look even worse. If this movie were any dumber, you'd have to water it twice a week. Wait, hang on, stop that video, hang on, that's not the right video. Wait a minute, what are you... Oh, wait a minute. I understand the confusion now. No. I'm not talking about 2008's The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. That movie was awesome. No, I'm talking about 1974's The Wrestler. This movie is a sad, confused attempt to put professional wrestling on a pedestal, all while sacrificing any semblance of a plot or decent storytelling. Any fans who wish to see a compelling, dramatic look at the sport of pro wrestling are sure to be misled. Lord knows they try to convince you it's all real and awesome, which makes looking back at it now far more hilarious than it was intended. The movie opens in a darkened arena. We kick things off with a match featuring the champ, Mike Bullard, played by AWA owner Verne Gagne.
Mike has been a top athlete for years. State high school wrestling champion. Big Ten Conference wrestling champion at the University of Minnesota. NCAA champion. Olympic gold medalist. All-American and professional football star.
Wow, such high praise for Gagne's character. Bet you never guessed he was the executive producer for the film, huh? We're also introduced to the promoter, Frank Bass, played by Ed Asner, who's best known for playing Lou Grant on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So is it a coincidence that his secretary is played by a woman who looks suspiciously like Moore? Bullard has been the champion forever, and Bass is running out of contenders to go up against him. Meanwhile, Bass is working on setting up a super show with other promotions across the country.
Some of us have been discussing a Super Bowl idea. You know, like pro football, matching the champions from each league.
They don't use Super Bowl as some throwaway simile here. That's literally what the show is called from here on out. How they managed to get through this movie without being sued, I have no idea. In fact, to avoid litigation from the NFL, I plan on using other popular advertising terms to describe this super show from here on out. Bullard's wife is concerned about her husband wrestling at an advanced age, especially at the big game on Sunday.
Dory Funk, Western Regional Champion. A lot of great moves.
And he's young.
Well, that's the only time you'll ever hear Dory Funk and Young used in the same conversation. Bullard's wife only exists in this movie to set up the idea that he could die in the ring if he wrestles for much longer, and outside of her saying so, that possibility never comes up again in the film. You don't ever see Bullard clutching his chest or breathing heavy. He never wrestles a guy who has a history of killing people in the ring, so what's the point?
Hey, Frank. How are things going?
God, does this bejowled man know anything about personal space? I'm feeling violated and I'm not even there! This sweaty schlub is some kind of mob guy who's trying to muscle in on the lucrative wrestling scene. In particular, the Super Game Spectacular!
I don't want to cut. This is getting real big.
Then why don't you want to cut? Bass's prayers for a new contender are finally answered in the form of Billy Taylor, played by grappler Billy Robinson. I'd like to know what they're saying in this scene, but apparently nobody thought to mic the talent over everything else going on in the gym.
Yeah. Listen, we gotta work fast. I want to shoot you in a couple of matches here and in Chicago.
That's a huge problem throughout this movie. The audio is terrible. The actors are often drowned out by other noises going on in the room.
I really owe you for this one. Yes, Morales, Eastern League champion.
And he's young.
We move on to another show where Ray Stevens wrestles a man who I think is supposed to resemble Bullard, just to drive home the point that Bullard's life is in danger every time he gets in the ring. It's too bad they never really made that clear. That reminds me, isn't Bullard supposed to be the star of this movie? I mean, he's the wrestler, right? Why haven't I seen him since the beginning of the movie? He's gotta be showing up soon, right? I mean, he's the big name attraction of this picture. I mean, come on, take a look at the DVD cover, and you'll see... whoa, wait, who's that guy? Who are those guys in the singlets? Where's Verne Gagne? Wait a second, what's it say down at the bottom? Witness the noble struggle of a hero, an ordinary man named Frank Bass? This movie is about The promoter? Dear God. Whose bright idea was it to make Ed Asner the star of the picture? If you have guys like Verne Gagne, Dusty Rhodes, and Billy Robinson in your film, I expect at least one of them to be front and center of the damn thing. It would be as if someone made a movie called The Basketball Player, when all you ever saw was his agent or the commissioner of the league. Why do they do this? You would think that Verne Gagne, a true old-school wrestler, would have used his pull as executive producer to tweak that, right? Stevens and the doppelganger wrestle, when suddenly...
Ring the bell, that's disqualification. It's over. This man is dead.
The attending physician has just informed me that Jack Cutter is dead.
Wow, nice tact there, guy. Any other bad news you want to impart on the crowd while you're at it?
Since you're all gathered here, I might as well let you know that Santa Claus is not real. Wait, there's more. 25 years from now, your world champion will be a B-list Hollywood actor.
Hi, Dusty. Just a minute. He's right here. Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty, you're not with Murdoch, are you?
So here comes the highlight of the entire film for all the wrong reasons. Long story short, Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch are at a bar. Then Oddjob appears because, why not? And a brawl ensues.
Sorry, Frank.
Let me get a buzz.
There are lots of points in this movie that fail to advance the plot, and this one certainly falls in that category. But at the same time, this scene is so goofy and over the top that you can't help but enjoy it. I want to see more of this. I think a film featuring nothing but non-sequitur skits involving wrestlers in everyday life would have made for a much better film, something along the lines of Kentucky Fried Movie. Holy hell, just 40 minutes in and we finally get our first real scene with Mike Bullard. You know, the wrestler! Bullard finds out that Billy Taylor has been brought in to defeat him. As the two get to know each other, Bullard invites Taylor to his wrestling school. This is where the movie abandons the plot entirely to show 8 soul-crushing minutes of wrestling drills.
Good move, Dan. Very good. Did you notice that quick move to the ankle and down on the mat? Good move. Notice Dan's knee was on the mat when he did this. In amateur wrestling, that knee must be down to the mat before you slam your man to the mat.
Beautiful hip lock with a hype by Billy Taylor. It puts Brunzell high in the air, and he falls wrong. You people will learn to fall properly as you progress.
Get to the point! If there's anything this movie could benefit from, it's less wrestling. Every match we see is pretty much in its entirety and makes the whole movie drag. What do all the great sports movies have in common? For the most part, they very rarely show entire games or fights until the very end. Most of the action is done with montages. Even BASEketball was able to figure that out. After that nonsense, we find ourselves at a meeting between all the country's biggest promoters as they discuss the Big Bull Bash. Everyone but Bass thinks that Bullard is too old and stodgy to represent his territory in the Super Big Fun Time Gridiron Battle. So the pressure is on for Bass to make sure Bullard loses the championship before then. People say the champion is too old and winning too much. What is this, Verne Gagne's biopic?
We need young wrestlers, guys with vitality.
What the hell are you talking about, Dusek? Huh? Mike's got more vitality than any wrestler you can name me.
This is insanity. They're arguing over who should be the champion, the decision on which is a work, yet they're justifying their choices by citing athletic attributes, which makes it seem like a shoot. Can the movie please decide whether or not to properly expose the business?
He doesn't fit the image we need for a national contest.
Image? What about your other league champions? Dory Funk is bald, man.
What? Not only is Bass getting pressure from his fellow promoters, the skeezy mob guys bet money on Taylor to take the title from Bullard, making things more stressful for Bass. But it's okay because Frank's secretary has just what he needs to relax.
If I can't take care of that, what else have I got?
Well, Frank, you always have me.
Time out! Movie? I've been willing to play along with your crap until now. But I'm not going to stand for an Ed Asner love scene, okay? I don't want some weird, bizarre Mary Tyler Moore fanfic in which Lou and Mary finally get it on, okay? This is not gonna happen, not in this review. Let's just move on. Frank wants to put Bullard up against Taylor in a title match, but Bullard balks at the idea.
Mike, I want a match with you.
No way. Frank, we got a long list of top contenders, and Billy's name was not on that list.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't Bullard supposed to be the good guy here? Why is he blatantly dodging this match? It seems like a real heel move to me. Bass has had enough and announces the two will wrestle for the title no matter what.
You will have to wrestle Billy Taylor before the Super Bowl, then.
Sure, I intended to.
You did.
Certainly. It had to happen.
Wait, so he wanted the match? Then why did he act like he didn't want it? What are this man's motives? Is there any sense to be made of this character? Oh, thank baby Jesus, we're finally at the match. But before the final confrontation, Greasy Mob Guy and his Greasy Mob thugs assault Frank to help drive their point home. And their point was, fuck, you know what? I don't care anymore. I wish they would just make a movie about the Crusher and the Bruiser. They've been so awesome throughout this entire movie, way more interesting than anyone else I've seen so far. Couldn't we just have a movie where these two gallivant alongside Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch and beat people up?
You think wrestling's rough? You gotta try promoting.
They wanted you to lose.
Laying over $500,000 out that Taylor would win.
What kind of odds are we given?
Wow, Gagne seems very nonchalant about the fact that his boss just got beat up because of him. After what seems like a millennia, we finally reached the film's climax.
Gentlemen, this is a championship match. One fall, 60-minute time limit. Abide by championship rules. We have a 10 count outside the ring.
Nobody cares! God, just get on with it already! The match between Bullard and Taylor is a hard-fought, evenly matched bout, meaning, since it was the 70s, that it was about as exciting as cold toast. But then...
Nobody's ever hit me with a drop kick. Nobody.
So there you have it. The amazing Mike Bullard goes on to win the match, pissing off every other promoter in the country, ensuring that his boss is murdered by the mob, and subjecting his wife to more mental anguish. Wow, what a fucking hero! At least Ready to Rumble had a cohesive story. At least Ready to Rumble had interesting characters. But not only does the wrestler fail to have both of those things, it also fails to accomplish its main goal, which was to make wrestling interesting. The Wrestler is technically a wrestling movie because there are wrestlers wrestling throughout, but for whatever insane reason, they decided to focus the entire story on some frumpy old promoter. Talk about screwed up priorities. There are absolutely no relatable characters in this movie. There's no one to feel sympathetic for. Billy Taylor comes the closest to any of them, and that's only because he resides in the purgatory of apathy. The one positive thing I'll say about this movie is that you get to see a lot of legendary wrestlers in their prime, or even before that. Would you guess this big-looking dude next to Taylor is a young Ric Flair? Or a Ric Flair? If you're a fan of old school wrestling, then the cameos alone are a treat. Just don't stick around for the story or the acting. I've seen a lot of bad movies, okay? I've seen Lost Souls, I've seen Blair Witch 2, I've seen Zombie Strippers, I've seen The Room, but never in my life have I ever seen a movie that tried so hard to be good, yet failed so miserably. Who wrote this crap? I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm Brian Zane, and I got nothing.
Then you've seen me. I come and stand at every door. You've seen me. I always leave with less than I had before.